Hey guys, this is Jacko with Dexcom Answering Service and Call Center out of Louisiana. We are a proud member of the Nexstar family. We just joined in May this past year during the craziness during COVID, and we are honored to be a part of the group. We started off with just a few members that were already our customers, and we really saw the value we were adding and the fit that existed between us and these clients. And when we began to do a bit more research as to what the common denominator may be, and we discovered it was Nexstar. So we reached out to our clients and we asked them how they could connect us. They were kind enough to give us great referrals, great references to the Nexstar staff. And the next thing we knew, we were strategic partners of Nexstar in the call center space. We just got to attend the show in Arizona. It was an awesome opportunity for my colleague and I, especially with where we are now in the world. We did not know what to expect, but Nexstar did an awesome job with what they had to work with. And we left with just such an admiration for the network, for the member base, and for the future of what this partnership may hold. So just wanted to start off by saying thank you again for having us. Thank you for having us as a member of this family. And we hope to meet you soon and help. So let's get started. Just a quick bit about Dexcom. We are an inbound answering service. We were founded originally in 1954. We're located in Carencro, Louisiana, although our original location was in Lafayette, Louisiana. We've been under current ownership since 1989. Jamie Hopper is our CEO, president, and owner. He resides in Baton Rouge. However, he is still a large part of our operation day in and day out. Our purpose at Dexcom is to provide compassionate, professional concern to communications, and we take that very seriously. I'll go through a bit more on our vision and clarifying that for you in a future slide, but I really want to emphasize that to set the tone for the webinar here. My name's Jacko. I've been with the company since June of 2016. It's been a lovely four and a half years. It's flown by. I started off specifically in a sales role and have now grown to become the head of our team revenue department, which is really sales and marketing, but it has a lot to do with customer retention, ensuring that we're getting the most out of the partnerships, the relationships we're trying to create with our clients, and that we're not just being transactional, but that we're creating long-term, long-lasting partnerships with our client base. My colleague and I, Carl, if you reach out to Dexcom, you most likely will speak to myself and Carl at some point. We are your main contacts at Nexstar. We went to Arizona and spoke about the partner shift. The partner shift was our cute little wombo or word combo for partnership. And of course, the theme of the show being the shift. So with the partner shift, we wanted to go from shifting our minds to being, in our remote locations and quarantining, focusing on the tasks that we have, to partnership relationships, building and maintaining partnership relationships, the emphasis, how critical that is now more than ever. Although you may feel alone in this world or like you're on an island trying to get things done, now more than ever, the focus on creating relationships is critical. The concepts that Carl and I brought to the conference, by the way, awesome turnout. We had, I think the room was built for 15 or 16 people, spaced out 6 feet apart. We had 25, 30 crammed in there. They weren't crammed, but they were socially distanced, wearing masks. However, there really was a great turnout, and we appreciated that. We spoke to these concepts: Patrick Lencioni's law of thirds, Patrick Lencioni's 3 signs of a miserable job, Simon Sinek's A Purpose-Driven Organization, as well as Patrick Lencioni's The Ideal Team Player. If you are not familiar with Patrick Lencioni or Simon Sinek, I highly recommend you do some research and get to know these folks, because they are amazing. They've done a lot for Dexcom, and they've done a lot for myself as well, just in terms of how I approach management, how I approach leadership, how I approach my professional and even personal life. If you don't know any of these, if you haven't heard of any of these concepts specifically, if you don't want to do research, feel free to reach out to myself. I would love to talk to you about them. The ideal team player is one of my favorite concepts out there. I really just, found a deeper connection to it right off the bat. And when you find that connection and you have a passion for a concept like this, it really just becomes easy to apply, and people take notice. And I think they become very effective and very efficient. So if you want to learn more about the partnership, you can also see Carl and I's presentation, our virtual presentation, through the Nexstar Partner Portal by searching for Dexcom, DEXCOMM, and scrolling down to the video link. I would encourage you to do so. And like I said, please reach out otherwise. This was the clarity piece I wanted to reference. We call it the Dexcom Difference, but we're more than an answering service. And we pride ourselves on the people that are a part of this organization. The product is, of course, of the utmost value and importance to us, because that's our service, right? But the people behind the service is what makes the difference. And this vision that we created, which we call the 27 words, there's 27 unique words listed here. The 27 words in our mind is how we can let each employee at Dexcom know just how we expect them to live each and every day, why we're doing this, the values we need to do this by, what we do in its most simple form, and our strategy, which, what are the 3 ways any member of this company can make a decision that is in the best interest of the company, right? And so our purpose, to bring compassionate professional concern to communications. Our values, compassion, personal growth, and concern for others. What we do, we receive and deliver communications. And our strategy, we are employee-centered. We are a premium quality service, and we are focused on building and maintaining partnership relationships. From the top to the bottom at Dexcom, if anyone is met with a decision that they have to make, they need to reference our strategy, our purpose, our values, what we do. And we feel very confident that for all who understand this, they can make the right decision on their own without having to, ask leadership or ask a peer or even deflect and defer. They can make that decision to the best of their ability, and we're confident that it'll be the right one for the company using these words. So this is awesome, by the way. This is another concept out there that through Gittimer that we highly recommend for anyone who's trying to create clarity in their company. And I'll get into a little bit more about why clarity is so critical when I talk a bit about Jacko Willink's takeaways from the Nexstar show. To start with Patrick Lencioni. You saw how many concepts I had from Patrick Lencioni mentioned in my colleague and I's presentation at Nexstar in Arizona. That's because we love him at Dexcom. There's no simpler way to put that, no lighter way to put that. We absolutely love Patrick Lencioni. Everything he's created has really hit home for us, and it's been extremely valuable to our leadership team and pushing it down, cascading it through to all of our employees. Patrick Lencioni at the show specifically wanted to reference his book, The Motive. I think The Motive is an awesome book because a lot of his concepts are talking about how to lead, but The Motive is talking about why. What is your motive? Why are you looking to become a leader? Let's start from the fundamental, the foundation standpoint of why you are in the role you are in, and let's make sure that's on track. Before we get into these concepts of the right ways to manage, let's know why you're doing it and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Patrick Lencioni talks a bit about being a responsibility versus reward-centered leader. Now, you most likely can guess which one he would highly recommend you be, but too often folks are leading as a reward-centered leader, right? They're in it for themselves. They're looking to receive that reward, that fulfillment of being a leader, which brings us to our second key point. Our key takeaway here is being a servant leader. This really hit home for me because I've talked about in my past the want to be a servant leader. Patrick Lencioni is tired of the concept. He believes servant leader is redundant. And if you think about it, I couldn't agree more, because a leader by nature should be a servant to those that they lead. This shouldn't be something you strive to be as a leader. You're not a leader if you are not approaching it from this servant mindset. And that's really that responsibility centered leader. He references being a parent, right? Your children come into this world and it's your responsibility. You should want the responsibility to discipline them, to have to go get them out of a tough situation that they got themselves into when they're in trouble. It's not about they're going to be so much fun. We're going to be able to take pictures and I'm going to be able to meet people in the neighborhood who also have children and I'm going to get to, see them win a soccer game. It's about the pride and the responsibility you take from bringing them into this world and taking ownership of being a leader to them. And that's the approach we need to take. So running through the 5 omissions of a reward-centered leader, these are the omissions, a reward-centered leader may totally miss, right? They may think these practices are not relevant to them. They're not necessary. They're going to lead in the way they want to lead. And these are critical things to think about as a leader, especially in today's world where people need leadership more than ever. Building a leadership team. Okay. Number one, everyone knows a leader cannot do it by themselves. So if one thinks of themselves they can, they are going to fail. It is critical to build the right team around you to get the job done and to have them go out on your behalf, on the company's behalf, and cascade and disciple the message, right? Create that clarity from department to department. It's critical to have that trust, that cohesiveness, everyone on the same page. Building a leadership team the right way is going to make a night and day difference between you being a successful leader or unsuccessful. It's not just about your efforts, but it's about the team you create around you. Managing subordinates. You need to take just as large of an interest in the success and personal growth, to reference back to one of our main values at Dexcom, personal growth of your subordinates. If you think, I don't want to micromanage them, I don't want to push, these concepts on them or push them to be better, or they should just want it on their own, or whatever they're up to, I hope they're doing it well. If those are your thoughts, you're just in it for the reward that may come from them being successful, and you're not in it for the responsibility of being a leader. By being a leader, you owe it to them to show up, take interest in what they're doing, take vested interest in their growth, not just where they are now and not just how they're serving you today, but where they could go to. It is your job as a leader to take ownership and manage subordinates. Okay. Don't make any excuse as to why that may not be your style of leadership or whatever. That's an excuse. And that's not how a responsibility-centered leader should work. Having difficult conversations. Of course, any reward-centered leader would love to skip having difficult conversations, because why? That's not the reward part of being a leader. That's not the fun part of being a leader. That's not why people, desire to be a leader. Oh, I hope I get to be a leader so I can really sit down and have tough, uncomfortable conversations with my direct reports or my peers or my employees. But it's critical. It's critical because having difficult conversations, although uncomfortable in the moment, of course, if done correctly, because it can be done incorrectly, being done correctly is really selfless. And it's what your direct reports need to hear. In the moment, it may not feel that way, but living allowing things to continue in an unsatisfactory manner or below the level or expectations you may have for yourself or for your employees or as a company is not doing anyone a service. Avoiding a difficult conversation just to end up having your employee fail down the line is so much worse than having that tough, potentially awkward conversation. Now, like I said, there is a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it, but I guarantee the right way to do it is in a timely fashion and being direct and honest and unemotional when it comes to just getting on the same page with your employee, making sure you always bring them back to the clarity of the mission, the purpose, the values, the strategy. Having difficult conversations is absolutely necessary for a responsibility centered leader. Running effective meetings. I know at Dexcom, for the longest time, we were having far too many meetings. And at one point, you walk out of a meeting and into another meeting and you think, well, I was just meeting with these same folks. What could we possibly have to talk about now? And that was a company-wide concern. And it was at my previous place of employment as well, and the one before that. So running effective meetings is so critical because it's getting your team to buy into even having meetings, is making sure that they're effective. Because when you have in a meeting, number one, if it's effective, you don't have to have that many of them, and you're not frustrating your peers and counterparts with so many meetings in a row. But also, why meet if it's not going to be effective? If there's nothing to be uncomfortable about, if there's no topic that's going to put some people on edge, if there's no, healthy conflict, right? Folks engaging in healthy conflict, then what's the point of meeting? If you're just meeting to meet and there's nothing, worthwhile to get on each other about in a respectful manner, then it's not worth meeting, and you begin to have your peers grow that resentment when it comes to, oh, here we go again, gotta sit down and look at each other for an hour, just to make sure we've met today. So making sure that you have a plan, a topic or two on hand, and you have an end goal in mind, and that everyone understands it, and that you begin to pressure, that you begin to engage with folks to make sure they're participating, right? Bring out the healthy conflict. Make sure that there's some intensity, some discomfort to the meeting. And I think that is a key to an effective meeting for certain. And last but not least, constantly repeating key messages to employees. Patrick Lencioni mentions that as a leader, you are the CRO of the company, the chief reminding officer of the company. And it takes people 7+ times to get a message across to them, right? It's one thing to go out into an all-employee meeting and say, hey guys, here's our pathway forward. I hope everyone's on board. Let's go get them. Everyone returns to their daily tasks, and that's gone in one ear and out the other. And although you may have been extremely clear and extremely direct and enthusiastic, it takes repetition and constant, consistent communication to have messages be truly heard by your employees. And so you want to go back almost to a fault and continue to use the same language, consistent language, frequently, to make sure everyone is on the same page, and they begin to remind you and remind others, and you get to hear your own words in their voice, in their speak. And that's when you start to realize, okay, I'm getting everyone on the same page here. My job as a leader is to remind folks to stay on the path, to keep doing what we're doing, to keep doing what we set out to do until the job's done. So those are Patrick Lencioni's key takeaways from me from the Nexstar conference. You can also see Patrick Lencioni's recorded session in the Nexstar partner portal, and I highly encourage you guys to look into Patrick beyond even just the motive. Moving on to our second speaker, and the last one in terms of the takeaways here in this webinar is Jacko Willink. And if anyone has not heard of Jacko, I would say some of the same thoughts that I have towards Patrick Lencioni, and that you're missing out, because he is so passionate ex-military, so you can tell by his picture here that he's fairly intense. I think it's to put it lightly, he's fairly intense, but impactful and effective. And you want to listen, you want to engage, you want to digest and apply what he has to say, because he just lets you know how critical these actions are to being a leader in today's world, and to leading a team of people effectively. And so to get into Jacko's main points of the laws of combat, we'll jump right into these takeaways. His first law of combat is cover and move. You may be familiar with this military tactic, but what it is that you have to work as a team, right? You are physically reliant. Your life depends on the actions and the harmony between you and your counterpart, right? When one is covering, meaning maybe shooting at an enemy, the other is making a move to a more strategic position. Once they've successfully made it to their safe new position, they begin to cover, so that the one who was covering can then also move to a new advanced position. So without going into more of that, if one of them doesn't do their job, both of them are in very serious danger. A lot more danger, of course, in the real world military application of this, but in our day-to-day lives, in the office, in the field, as technicians, as dispatchers, as CSRs, whatever it may be, we have people relying on us to cover and move. If one of us isn't doing our job, doesn't trust us to do our job, they cannot advance, whether that be in a specific task or in their lives, their professional lives, to grow and move the company forward. Teamwork is really the concept that comes out of this cover and move law of combat. Simple, right? Jacko would, be very simple. Simplify the mission. That's what we were looking to accomplish with those 27 words. When we go out to our employees and we say, hey, this is how we want everyone to live, here's a 20-page packet of everything you need to know about how you should conduct yourselves day in and day out, and why we're doing what we do. No one's reading that. I will tell you this. No one's reading that, and therefore no one truly understands the mission. No one has clarity and can make decisions on the fly, in the field, on the move. Simple and simplifying the mission is so key to getting everyone's buy-in, because they actually get it. And if you don't get it, you can't buy in. But when you do, it gives you, it empowers you to buy in and get on board and move forward as a unit. Prioritize and execute. Prioritize and execute is just in that same, in alignment with that previous remark about clarity. In my mind, it really wraps up clarity as well. And that's prioritizing. Number one, knowing what the highest priorities are, day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter, or even annually. Everyone in the company needs to know what the priorities are. What the priorities are, and in order to execute. Because if you have one person on the team scrambling to help this customer out, and the other person on the team scrambling, to help an entirely different situation out, and there's an issue with, your software or dispatching or the calendar, whatever it may be, no one's going to be getting anything done. And they're certainly not going to be getting the highest priority done at an execution level that you are looking for to achieve your goals. And so what's that take? That takes detaching as a leader from the situation. If you get into the weeds with your team while they're running left, right, this way, that way, there's a big storm in the area, there's outages, it's the middle of summer, there's a hurricane, a blizzard, whatever may be occurring. If you're allowing your emotions and your mental focus to run around chaotically, you're not going to be able to help lead your team. You're not going to be able to prioritize and execute and help others do the same. So detaching from the situation, just finding a way to get up to 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet. To not be in those weeds is going to truly allow you as a leader to understand what's occurring in all these different locations and what should take priority, and then begin to execute and direct your team to focus on the priority, one priority at a time. You can't do two things at once, at least not well, and then get that done. Then we can move on to this priority, and we'll slowly begin to knock things out as a team, thanks to a leader being able to detach themselves, prioritize, and execute. Decentralized command. Everybody leads. This goes, fits right. Everything seems to fit in with one another. And that's the beauty of it all. Nothing seems to conflict when it comes to these messages from Jacko and Patrick. And that's why we were able to create our own clarity and mission, because we learned from these leaders, these keynote speakers, and we were able to take something that is clear, non-conflicting, and apply it. Decentralized command is knowing that there's clarity from the top down, right? Bottom up. It's not just about the leaders going out into the company day in and day out and saying, hey, we need this from you guys. Hey, we expect this from you from a core value standpoint. It's about peers knowing that as well, right? It's about subordinates or direct reports knowing that as well, and being willing and able to command, right, from a lower level. And that way, that your voice and your mission and your values are being pushed, not just from the top down constantly, right? Because number one, that can be exhausting for leadership. And number two, that's not very effective, because if you have to continuously push it from the top down, that means it's not sticking, right? If you're not appropriately cascading this, if no one's getting the message, then you're going to continue to forever have to do that, and your team's not on the same page, and you don't have decentralized command. That is one central point of command. You need everyone to be on the same page, so that when people know, hey, why am I going out to do this? They can make decisions for themselves in the field, right? Jacko has an awesome example about sending a platoon up to a rooftop in battle, and asking them to cover the north from any oncoming vehicles or attacks. And so he sends them up to the roof without any additional command, right? Sends them up to the roof. And in his mind, he's sending folks up to the roof because, number one, it's a great vantage point. And number two, typically the rooftops in the geographical location he's referring to has walls built up, parapets built up around it. So it also gives his platoon some great cover. So not only do they have cover, but they have a great vantage point, and they can then secure the area for his team down below. Sends them up there with no other why, right? No decentralized command, the ability for them to make decisions on their own, understanding the purpose of the mission. They go up there, there's no walls. They're standing up on this rooftop, and although they have a great vantage point to the north, they are entirely exposed. They begin to ask each other, what in the world are we doing up here? We are sitting ducks. And for the leader of that platoon to only say, well, Jacko sent us up here. Well, they're beginning to think to themselves, well, Jacko is not very intelligent. And so now you got your group up there scared to death, knowing also that their leader is the dummy that sent them up there. So you have a very fragile situation going on here from a team perspective. Start that story back over. As a leader, you send your platoon up top with a mission to guard from any attacks from the north, and you ask them to go to the rooftop with their point being, listen, why do you want me to go up to the rooftop? Because I need you to make sure that we are safe from the north. Okay, that sounds great. And knowing that cover, your team being safe and covered and ensuring that the north is secured is the mission of me sending you up to the rooftop. Okay, I understand. So that way, when they go up to that rooftop and they discover, hey, we have the vantage point we need, but there's no cover. We were expecting there to be parapets and there are none. They can then make that decision on their own, having that decentralized command, that understanding, that greater understanding of what the mission was and why. They can then go one floor down to north-facing windows with walls and protection and cover, and then communicate down hey, leader, there was no walls, no parapets up on the roof. We've now gone to the floor directly beneath it. We have the north secured, covered, and we're here waiting further commands. And as a leader, you can say thank you, because they understood the mission, you communicated it accordingly, and they were able to make on the fly, in the field decisions on their own. They didn't have to call down and say, hey, what should we do, leader? As I'm sure some, you may hear as a leader of your company, with technicians out in the field or whatever it may be, that you feel like they should know what to do out there. I've told them 100 times, but being clear and decentralizing command is so critical. So I love that story about the rooftop. And so I thought I'd share that one, although a bit lengthier than I anticipated. Having extreme ownership, not one of the laws of combat, but one of Jacko's other awesome concepts. Taking extreme ownership company wide is so awesome. And to have that actually happen in reality, it just makes you an absolute powerhouse of a company, because every single person at the company is taking extreme ownership of the situation that they are in, extreme ownership of any issue that arises, and therefore extreme ownership of most likely the success that follows, because there's no one else to blame. When you understand the mission, when you understand the why, when the mission is simple, when you have trust in your teammates, you can then go out there and take extreme ownership of the situation and get things done. Because people who take extreme ownership get things done, and an organization that has each individual doing so is going to be a successful one, 10 times out of 10. Those are some of my key takeaways from Jacko Willink's presentation at Nexstar. Please, once again, go check out the online portal, and Jacko has his recorded session there where he goes through these stories far more intensely and entertainingly than I did. So please do, but I hope this was helpful to you guys. That was my key takeaways from Jacko and Patrick. If you want to learn more about Dexcom, please feel free to reach out. I will have my information on the next slide, as well as you can visit www.dexcom.com. You can find us in the portal, searching Dexcom or searching through the call center partners. We will be there. My information will be there. The basics about what we do. If you want to reach out to us, if you have an interest, if you have a need for answering service 24/7, during hours, rollover, after hours support, emergency, on-call escalation, job booking, service Titan integration, whatever it may be, our process is very straightforward. We obviously, of course, offer the Nexstar rebate as a strategic partner on a quarterly basis, as well as we're still offering our show deal of $1,000 value. So please feel free to reach out. We would love to help. If you don't need our help, we would love to just meet you. So we want to be a part of this family of Nexstar, and we appreciate you guys welcoming us as you've done since we joined in May. And we hope that this year just continues to build on itself. And by next May, a year in, we've met each and every one of you. And if not, we hope to very soon. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And talk to you soon. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.